Yeah, I don't know the reason why I ate the Reverend Tony. I don't know.
Because he has the outfit.
That's what it is. Yeah. And thank you, Reverend Peter, for my outfit that you got me many years ago. Really appreciate it. No, seriously, no. Arizal Kwanzaa. Happy Kwanzaa, everyone.
Happy Kwanzaa.
So it is always great to have the opportunity to talk about Kwanzaa every year. It is something that is meaningful to me and definitely become meaningful to my family here at the Community Miracle Center. And I am always very grateful for the fact that we continue to do this on a regular basis. So it just shows how incredible that we actually are as a group and as a community. And so I just feel very, very grateful for that aspect of it. You know, and also I always, want people to remember, even though I'm going to be focusing on Kwanzaa from an African American perspective, but also for you guys to think about how it actually applies to you in your life, personally, but also for your community as well. So even though these principles were set for, African Americans and Pan-Africans, but it's also important for us to realize that it actually impacts all of us and how we can actually utilize these different principles that I'm going to be talking about in a bit. Before we get started and in more details, I just want us to actually do the proper greeting of Kwanzaa, which is Swahili. So I'm going to say Abre Ganye, and then you guys are going to respond with the principle of the day, which is today is Kuumba. Okay? So Abre Ganye.
Kuumba.
All right, great job. So that's actually the proper way of doing a greeting for Kwanzaa. And actually, I thought about that, and it made me, realize how great it is to actually have a greeting that actually have a purpose to it. It has a meaning about it. It's about whatever that principle is of the day. And so when you're greeting someone, in Kwanzaa, according to Swahili, you actually get the chance to realize, they're acknowledging the creativity that I have, specifically for today, because that's what we're, focusing on, and how powerful and how inspiring that actually, really is. Because as we know, in our society, we usually greet people, hi, how are you doing, and all that stuff, and usually people say the same thing, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, but we really don't get a chance to really see what they really is going on, with them, and what their really purpose is. And so that's why I find this to be something great, to be able to recognize that and understand that this actually is a purpose for a greeting regarding that aspect of it. So that's absolutely wonderful. Now, as you can see here, we have our incredible altar, which I love that each year we continue to add new things to it. And when you get a chance, definitely come and look at the incredible, wonderful pictures that people brought to the altar. It's really, really great. But the thing that I want to highlight is, with some of you may not be able to see it right now on YouTube, but I'm sure Reverend Kelly will do a very good job of integrating into it, is we have our kanar, which is the candle holder, and that represents all the 7 candles. There is a black candle, which is the center candle, which is about unity, and then we have our 3 red candles, and then we also have our 3 green candles. The purpose of the black candle, as I mentioned, is that's actually the center, that's the foundation of the principles of what Kwanzaa is about, which is about the unity. But then also the red candles actually represents the struggles that Black and African Americans actually went through that time period. So that's what that actually represents. And then the green candle actually represents the future of what we're looking forward to, and the future that we're actually going to continue to go through. And so those are the candles that we light every day, which is absolutely a wonderful thing regarding that aspect of it. And then along with those candles, we also have a purpose to get a better sense and better understanding of what these are about. And so these are some of the principles. It's about us learning how to organize and enrich our relationship with each other on a personal and also on a community level, like we do here at the Community Miracle Center. Establishing our own standards, commitment, and our priorities that would tend to enhance our human possibilities as persons and as people. Learning how to aid in our own recovery and reconstruction of our lost historical memory and achievements. And I think that's one of the important things also, to remember our history and remember how that actually impacts where we are right now and how we continue to move forward regarding that. And serve as a contribution to a core system of communitarian ethical values for the moral guidance and instructions of the community, especially for our children, and contribute to an ongoing and expanding set of Afrocentric communitarian values. So those are the purpose of these incredible 7 principles that I'm going to go over in a bit. So Kwanzaa is an African American and Pan-African American holiday which celebrates family, community, and culture. It is celebrated from December 26th to January 1st. So tomorrow will be the last day of Kwanzaa. Its origin is around the first harvest, the first fruit. And the name Kwanzaa actually derived from the phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa, which means first fruit in Swahili. It's a Pan-African language which is the most widely spoken African language. It was conceived by and developed by Dr. Ron Melina Karinga. And it came in December 26, 1966, a time of social and political changes that actually was, happening. So that's when he decided to bring it here to the United States. And it is based on the agriculture and celebration known as the first fruit, which is about us learning how to celebrate our harvest, our ingathering, our reverence, our commemoration, our recommitment, and our celebration. It is a time for us to ingather our celebration for our heritage, specifically African Americans, and our achievements, our reverence for our creators and our creations, our commemoration of the past, recommend to the cultural ideas and celebration of our own goods. It was created in the midst of the struggles during the 60s. And as we know, 60s, a lot of things was happening around that time period. And so they felt that this was a perfect time to bring this up, to bring this particular spiritual practice to this world. Because as we know, in the 60s, that was a time of the women's movement. As we know, that was the time of the civil rights movements. As we know, that was the time of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender movement. And also, if I remember correctly, that actually was a time when Helen Schuckman started actually, channeling, the Course of Miracles. What a perfect timing when a time where our country appeared to be in turmoil, and yet these incredible, wonderful principles came about. And it came about because it recognized that it was a time for us to realize that it is not about us appearing separate. It's actually about us recognizing we actually are one. It's the relationship that each and every one of us have as a group, as unity, as one. And it's remarkable that that was a time that all those things happened. And when you think about some of those great leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and just understanding what they were about, and it is about us learning how to heal. And that was one of the beauties that I find, in Kwanzaa and about the principles and what they're really actually about. And so these are the principles. 1, Umoja, which is unity. To strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. The second one, by the way, I say the Swahili word first, and then I say the American word, just so you guys know. Kujigula, with self-determination. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. The third principle of the day. One second here, get my sheet covered here. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. To build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems, to solve them together. Ujuma, cooperative economics. To build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. Nia, purpose. To make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Kuumba, creativity. To do always, as much as we can, in the way we can, in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we actually inherited. The seventh principle, Imani, faith. To believe with all of our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Beautiful principles. And one of the things that you may have noticed, each one of them has something to do with community. It was not about us being separate at all. It is about us working together as a collective. And it made me realize, even though we're going to celebrate this for 7 days, what would it be like if we actually do this for 365 days? Similar to what we do for the Course of Miracles, where we have a lesson each day to help us prepare for this world that we are in. And if we have the opportunity to be able to do the exact same thing with these principles, which is about us healing as a group, recognizing the importance that actually exists and what we actually need. And so, part of the way Kwanzaa works is you think about that principle throughout the day, and then by the end of the day, you actually share it with your family, with your community. Even though it's not the end of the day, but I am here with my family and with my community, and I have the opportunity to share just a little bit about my own thought of what the principle of today is, which is Kuumba. And once again, Kuumba, which is creativity, means this: to do always, as much as we can, in the way we can, in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited. And for me, this is so inspiring to recognize that it's about us making sure that we bring beauty into this world, that we continue to pass it on from generations to generations. You know, it made me reflect on my ancestors, of what they went through. And even though it may have appeared to be a tough time for them, but yes, my sense is there's a sense of beauty that actually exists within them because they were able to pass that on to the next generation. And then each generation continues to bring their own sense of value and their own sense of beauty into this world. It is important for us to do whatever we can to be able to do that, no matter what. Even though it may appear as there's some challenges that exist in this world, but that's our purpose. And that's the beauty that we actually have within ourselves. And one of the things that reminded me when I thought about this was this quote from the Course, which was, "The mind, if it elects to do so, becomes a medium by which the soul creates along the line of its own creation." That's a beauty, our own creation. And it made me to think when I realized what my parents went through and values that they set for their kids. And the thing that really stuck out for me was, I still remember this, when I was a kid, I was a teenager, and we was watching that movie, Mississippi Burning, about everything that happened in Mississippi during that time. And my father is actually from Mississippi. That's where he's actually is from. And we was watching that movie, and then out of the blue, he said he was there when it actually took place. And that's when it hit me to realize what he might have went through during that time period. and knowing what him and my mom did for his kids to make sure that things are more beautiful now than they were then in the past. And that's what Kuumba is about. And for me, it reminded me of Christmas this past week or so when I was there with my nephews. And to see how much my nephew and nieces have grown, because I've known them since they was a little baby, and they're young adults now. And seeing the value that my siblings put to them and how they actually pass it on to their kids, because several of my nieces have kids now of their own as well. So yes, I'm a great uncle, but I tell them they only can call me uncle because I don't have the word great to it yet. But the whole thing is to see how they are doing that. It went from generations to generations to generations. And even though it mentioned community a lot, but for me, part of it is, it starts with family. We cannot do anything if we don't find the beauty and understand the things that happen in our family and how we inherited whatever values that is. And once we have it there, then we actually able to bring it into this incredible community that we actually have. To change your mind means to place it at the disposal of true authority. And for us, we know part of that true authority is when we come from our guidance, when we come from our spirit, and when we understand that's who we're supposed to be. And I recognize now of how fortunate that I am with all the communities that I have in my life, and seeing how I've been able to model to leave things much beautiful now for the next generation. I saw it in my nephews and nieces' eyes, and seeing where they are at, to be able to just take that in and understand what that's all about. Recognizing that here at the Community Medical Center, that's what we're doing. Reverend Tony and Reverend Larry got it started, but yet they're passing it on to each and every one of us. We're making it more beautiful than it was initially. We're doing all we can to make sure that we do our part and our purpose in this world. To understand that yes, it may appear to be challenging at times, but know that we have the creativity within ourselves to continue to bring nothing but love, healing, and light into this world. That's how we're doing our part. And that's what, in my mind, of what Kuumba and what creativity was about for me today. The power and strength of man's creative will must be understood before the real meaning of the now can be appreciated and relinquished. We all have the power. We all have the strength. The thing is, do we believe in it? Do we trust within ourselves that what we're doing right now, we are creating for the next generation? We are setting the stage for them to make things even at another incredible level than what we already have done. And for me, that brings so much hope, so much excitement, so inspiring, knowing that's what's happening. That we created that we set that stage. And we set that stage because we learned it from our ancestors. Our ancestors passed it on to our grandparents. Our grandparents passed it on to our parents. Our parents passed it on to their kids. For the ones who have kids themselves, they pass it on to them. That's the beautiful cycle that actually truly exists. And that's why early on I brought our ancestors into this room with us, for us to remember that, to understand, to cherish, to know that because of them, each and every one of us are here right now. And each and every one of us have our purpose, have our understanding, and each and every one of us know what is it that we're supposed to do, which is to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited. Always on Kwanzaa.